Hello and welcome to this edition of the SFG Top Performance Podcast. Mike King and I will take you through some grain and feed information and news that's up to date. We're doing this right ahead of the Labor Day weekend, big holiday weekend. We've had plenty of heat. I think everybody's probably thrown away all their heavy clothes thinking we may not need them again, but that'll change probably quicker than we realize. But with that heat, the question is, particularly in our area, how much damage did we do to the crop, and particularly the beans. The corn was probably far enough along, not saying we didn't suffer a little more tip back in some fields due to the heat here of the last 2 weeks. But beans especially, they needed another rain to maximize the yield. And we've got areas that had the moisture ahead of time that's probably still going to have above, maybe well above normal bean yields. But you get down to the southern part of our trade area where the soils are a little lighter, a little less holding capacity. They pretty much missed the rains the last 3 weeks. And so we had a lot of potential. I think we'll still have a decent bean crop, but it's not going to be what we had hoped for. Let's put it that way. So on the price news, sort of, Pro Farmer did their tour 10 days ago, let's say. That's always draws a lot of attention. They do a comprehensive check of some fields across the Midwest, hit the main crop growing areas. They put out a 172 corn yield compared to the USDA's August projection of 175.1. So a 3 bushel less there. Their bean tally came in at 49.7 versus the USDA at 50.9. So a reduction of 1.2 bushel. Now this was going on during the heat. So they saw some of that damage, but did they see it all? We don't know. Combines will start rolling here in the next couple of weeks. Early reports from down, say in Louisiana and the like, the bean yields have been below normal, below expectations. Don't know how far north that'll come. We'll just have to wait and see. But right now, new crop corn's in the 430 to 450 range. Quite a departure from where we were a year ago. Is it going to get better? Maybe. That's the best way to answer. I think this might be one of them years, we're definitely going to have an early harvest. And usually when that happens, the lows are put in on the early side. A year ago, we just traded steady to better right through harvest. We really didn't have a big problem there because of the demand. This year, the demand has weakened. We're still looking at a 2 billion bushel carryout, give or take. And as long as we're in that range, we're probably not going to see a lot of 5+ pricing. That could change, of course, at any time, but it doesn't appear to. New beans are somewhere right in that $13 range, give or take a dime today. Some concern maybe from producers that we might see a hit on that going into harvest, and we could. But the demand for beans globally has stayed good, and we've got a lot of new crop beans sold on the futures with primarily with China. The bad part there, they might be buying to hedge themselves, and we know what happens if they happen to go cheaper. Suddenly those beans don't get shipped. So you never know until those beans leave the country if they're really going to take them. The odd thing right now, December oats are 15 cents higher than corn. That doesn't happen very often. But the oat crop this year was down almost 50%. If you remember, a lot of oats are raised in Canada. That's where the extreme drought area has been, is in Canada, Minnesota, where the oats come from. So if you got oats in the bin yet, they have become more valuable. Another thing that's affecting the corn market, Brazil has all but taken over the top spot as the top exporter of corn in the world. Who would have thought 10, 15 years ago that'd ever happen? But they did that with beans here a few years ago, and now they've done the same with corn. It's kind of back to when we were all raising some hogs thinking that they would never integrate the hog industry like they did the chickens. Well, they did. If they could figure out how to do the cattle business, they'd do that too. But they haven't quite got that one figured out other than the packer ownership of fat cattle. That's a different deal. So that's always going to be have an effect on our markets. Another thing with the corn, it's vitally important that we continue to advance the use of ethanol in jet fuel. There's been some good articles out in the last month that shows where that could take us. And it's not an easy done thing, but the technology is there that we could provide the bulk of the jet fuel in this country from ethanol. And it'll work. It's been proven it'll work. So hopefully we can latch on to something like that, take us into the next area of ethanol production. As we get into harvest, our company will extend hours at all of our grain locations. We typically don't set hours ahead of time because we want to be flexible. If it rains us out, we're not going to stay here till 8 o'clock at night. We're going to go home like everybody else. But if we got some good weather, these locations will stay open until 7 or later to take your grain and keep you in the field. So that'll be kind of a day-by-day, week-by-week thing. Check with your locations. They'll work with you the best they can. We want to remind everybody to be safe. Take that extra minute to do things correctly. Don't forget to lock those heads before you get under them. If you're climbing bins to set augers and stuff, pay attention. Be careful. As people like myself get older, we want to still do things we did 30 years ago, but you got to take that extra step and just be careful. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he's going to talk about some feed items. Mike?
Okay, thanks, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Well, as we know, the crops are about ready to harvest. Corn silage has been chopped and is being chopped, and a lot more of it this year because they were short of hay. So now's the time before you start getting in the field to start thinking about rations for your weaned calves and cows through the winter. Do some thinking while you're riding in that combine. Let me know ahead of time before you get in the field so I can get forage samples taken and we can get diets set up for you. And we can look at different options. Some type of distiller's products if you're set up to handle them. Whether it be modified or wet gluten, but we can supply you with dry gluten if you can't handle the wet product. So I've been taking samples. We've been getting diets set up for guys. So the more advanced notice I can get would be appreciated so you're ready to go. If you're not chopping silage, some guys aren't. Let's talk about rations with corn and supplements in along with your hay. So give me a call so we can get those set up for you so you're all ready to go when you wean those calves. Don't forget at weaning time about the stress tub. Ours is called the Brigade, and we want 1 tub to 40 calves. Just put it in the pen the day they're weaned and leave them in there till they're gone. The reason for those is so even if it's home-raised calves, they're still going through a stress. So you'll get them licking that tub and they'll want to go eat. It helps with the ingredients in that. It helps set up a good digestive system. You're going to see fewer treats and pulls. It'll help reduce respiratory challenges. So it's always cheaper to prevent something than it is to treat it. And nobody wants lost performance, especially with the price of calves. I want to remind you about contact us on our promotions on fall and winter needs of tubs. We have the Crystalix protein tubs. They're 250-pound steel. I got Kent's tubs coming in shortly. They will be 250-pound plastic. So we have promos going on both of those. It appears like there's more and more demand for plastic all the time. So we'll probably be moving with both companies on plastic before too long, the way it sounds. So be sure and contact us. There's a discount on the tubs. You can prepay for them now, and you have till the end of November to get them pulled out. So it saves you some money on the tubs. The last thing I'd like to mention is that we all know that operating notes at the bank interest is almost doubled. So just a reminder, we do have Hubbard's Feeder Finance program, and we can put anything on there. Almost there isn't anything that can't go on that. Tubs, mineral, stress products, balancers, supplements. It's 0% interest. So there's more and more guys starting to set up with that. So be glad to talk to you about that. So at this time, I just have a safe harvest. Do appreciate your business. And again, just a reminder, get a hold of me so we can get these forage samples down and get your rations ready so you're ready when the calves are weaned. Enjoy a good long Labor Day weekend. And again, thank you for your business.
Thanks, Mike. That wraps up today's edition of the podcast. We look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks. Thank you.